13 dangerous predators in the jungles. There are places on Earth where humans enter as guests. The Amazon is one of these places. Here, everything is alive, everything breathes, and everything watches you from the shadows. The humid air is so dense it feels like you could slice it with a knife. The rivers run a murky, deep tea color, and in that darkness, just below the surface, lies a creature that hasn't changed in the last 80 million years. It's in no hurry. It never is. It knows that sooner or later, all living things will come to the water. If you appreciate having hot water at your tap and the ability to buy food without a suitcase full of cash, support this cycle with a like. Share in the comments which of these creatures you absolutely wouldn't want to encounter one-on-one. This will help us organize more expeditions like this. The black caiman isn't just a large crocodile, it's the apex predator of the Western Hemisphere. Males can grow up to 6 meters long and weigh as much as a small car. But it's not just about the size, it's about how it exists, almost undetected, almost silently. Imagine a log slowly drifting against the current. You see it and think it's just flotsam brought by the water. Then suddenly, that log opens its eyes. Its coloration isn't green or gray like most crocodiles. It's almost coal black, and this isn't mere chance. The dark skin allows it to warm up faster in the sun, and in the waters at night, it becomes completely invisible. Nighttime is its prime time. When the jungles descend into darkness and every sound sharpens, the caiman goes hunting. Its eyes are designed to capture light in conditions where a human only sees blackness. Those two reddish glow spots above water are the last thing many animals notice before they come to drink. It hunts using a technique perfected by evolution to absolute perfection. No chasing, no unnecessary movements. It simply waits, sometimes for hours, even a whole day in one position, almost motionless, slowing its heartbeat to just a few beats per minute. During this time, its body consumes remarkably little energy. It's one of the most efficient survival machines on the planet. And then, in the blink of an eye, it strikes. The speed of the lunge is so rapid that the human eye barely registers it. Its jaws snap shut with a force several times greater than the strongest industrial vice. The prey doesn't even realize what just happened. The black caiman feeds on just about anything that carelessly approaches the water. Capybaras, the largest rodents in the world, about the size of a small pig, are a typical meal for it. Tapirs, deer, large fish, and waterfowl also fall victim. An adult caiman can even tackle an anaconda. Yes, that anaconda we'll talk about later. Encounters between these two creatures are some of the most astonishing events that occur in the wild. The winner is determined by size and who finds themselves in the more advantageous position first. Now, let's talk about the individual. It's important to be honest here. The black caiman doesn't deliberately hunt humans. We're not part of its usual diet. However, it lacks a mechanism to accurately distinguish between a tapir and a person wading in the water up to their knees. There are enough documented cases of attacks on people in Amazonian villages that locals hold a deep respect, bordering on sacred fear, for the dark waters. Fishermen washing clothes by the shore and children playing in the shallows know that the river has a life of its own. And sometimes you don't notice who's watching you from below. There was a case in the Brazilian state of Pará. Researcher Werner Vogel described an expedition during which their boat passed so close to a caiman, just a meter away, that they thought it was a tree root sticking out of the water. It wasn't until the creature slowly turned and slipped below the surface that they realized what they had just missed. Vogel wrote that the entire team was silent for about 15 minutes. Just silent. But now, here's something that flips our perception of this creature upside down. The black caiman is a caring parent. This isn't a slip of the tongue. The female guards her nest of eggs for several months, rarely leaving it. When the hatchlings begin to make sounds from inside the eggs, even before they've hatched, she hears them and starts gently excavating the nest. With her powerful jaws capable of crushing anything, she carefully carries the newborns to the water, one by one, an entire clutch. And she protects them for several more months after that. Nature is rarely black and white. A creature that poses a threat in the water becomes something entirely different at its own nest. But here's what's truly important to understand. The black caiman is not a threat to the ecosystem. It is the ecosystem. By regulating the populations of capybaras and large fish, it prevents species from overpopulating and destroying the riverside vegetation. Its presence is a sign that the river is healthy. Where there are no caimans, a slow and invisible collapse of the entire food chain begins. In the 20th century, active hunting for their skin, which was incredibly in demand for making bags and shoes, caused the population to plummet so drastically that scientists sounded the alarm. It took decades of protection for the species to begin to recover. Today, the black caiman is protected. This is one of the few stories in human-wildlife relations where we managed to stop in time. Almost in time. It's patrolling its rivers again, lying still by the shores, looking out at the world from the darkness, its red eyes peering above the black water. The Amazon thrives as long as it thrives, but while we observe the Lord of the Rivers, in the depths of the jungle, where the trees stand so closely that sunlight only filters down in narrow strips, someone else is already moving. Softly, almost silently, every step precise, every gaze a target. The next predator doesn't wait by the water. It's everywhere. Predator 2, the jaguar. There's a sound that the local people of the Amazon basin describe in the same way, no matter their tribe or language. A deep, guttural roar rolls through the jungle, like an engine revving within the thick foliage. It's not loud or frantic like a lion's roar. It's calm and confident. In the Tupi language, this sound means the one who kills with a single leap. And that's where the name jaguar comes from. Forget everything you think you know about big cats. A lion represents strength and open spaces. A tiger is power and a striped shadow. The jaguar is something entirely different. It's the jungle compressed into a single living creature, compact and dense, with a head so broad and massive that it seems disproportionately large for its sturdy body. Males can weigh up to kilograms, yet they move as if they weigh nothing at all. Not a single branch snaps underfoot. Not a leaf stirs unnecessarily. It glides through the jungle like a shadow across water. Its coat deserves special mention. A golden yellow base covered with rosettes, dark cross-shaped spots with small dots inside. This is more than just beauty. In the dappled light of the tropical forest, where sunlight creates a chaotic mosaic of light and shadow on the forest floor, this pattern makes the jaguar a literal optical illusion. You can look right at it and not see it. Naturalist Alan Rabinovich, who spent years conducting field research in Belize, admitted he had only seen a jaguar in the wild a few times during his months in the jungle, and each time he realized he was only seeing it because the jaguar allowed it. Now, let's talk about what truly sets the jaguar apart among the world's big cats. Most felines hunt in a similar manner, jumping onto their prey's back, striking with a paw, and constricting the throat. The jaguar has broken that mold. Its skull has evolved in a way that no other cat has. With wide cheekbones and incredibly strong jaw muscles, the jaguar has the most powerful bite of any cat on Earth. It doesn't choke its prey or bite the throat, it punctures the skull right through the bone. With one precise strike between the ears, the end comes instantly. Scientists refer to this as a cranial bite. It's not cruelty, it's mercy by evolution. It doesn't get faster than this. This unique trait allows the jaguar to hunt prey that other cats wouldn't even glance at. The caiman, the very same armored reptile, makes it onto its menu. The jaguar enters the water, waiting for the moment when the reptile relaxes on the shore, then strikes precisely at the back of the head, where the armor is weak. A turtle in its shell? Not a problem. It opens it like a can. An armadillo? Same deal. Nature has created several armored creatures to protect against predators, yet the jaguar renders that armor irrelevant. It mainly hunts at night and during twilight, though it can be active during the day if needed. A male's territory can cover hundreds of square kilometers. He patrols his territory constantly, marking boundaries with scratches on trees, scent markings, and claw marks that are out of reach for most other animals. When two males meet at a territorial boundary, it rarely leads to a fight. Instead, they read the markings, assess each other's size by the height of the scratches, and silently part ways. A smart predator avoids injury unless absolutely necessary. An injury in the jungle means a slow demise. The jaguar has a unique trait that most cats dislike. He loves water. He swims easily and willingly, crossing wide rivers and hunting for fish in shallow waters, striking with such precision that it resembles fishing more than hunting. Local fishermen in the Amazon sometimes spot him standing knee-deep in the river, still, focused, with his head lowered toward the water, patient like a heron. Then, in a flash, he strikes, and the fish is on the bank. The jaguar's relationship with humans is complex and lengthy. For most indigenous peoples of the Amazon, he is more than just an animal. He is a mediator between worlds, a creature that belongs to both this realm and the one beyond. The shamans of the Yanomami tribe believe that during trance, their souls take on the form of a jaguar. The Aztecs established an entire military order of jaguars, elite warriors who wore his skin and believed they absorbed his power. The Maya placed him at the pinnacle of their cosmology. No other animal in the New World has left such a profound mark on human culture. Attacks on people do occur, but they are rare and almost always linked to specific circumstances: cornered, injured, a mother with cubs, or an animal whose territory has been destroyed by deforestation, forced to approach humans simply because there's nowhere else to go. In one documented case in the Colombian jungle, a group of researchers was on a night route when one member fell behind, literally just 30 meters from the group. When he caught up, he found that his backpack, which he had set down by the trail, had been meticulously opened and sniffed. The jaguar had been following them for at least half an hour, silently, invisibly, just out of reach of their flashlights. He was simply observing. Then he left. Here's what's important to understand about this predator. He's not aggressive by nature. He is cautious, clever, and pragmatic. Engaging with an unknown biped creature carries a risk of injury, and for a solitary hunter, an injury means an inability to hunt for food. Therefore, the jaguar usually just watches, assesses, and then walks away. But here's something you might not expect. Jaguars play. Young ones, and even adults, have been seen bringing items of clearly no food value back to their dens. Uniquely shaped stones, pieces of bark, feathers. Researchers who set up camera traps at jaguar resting spots in the Pantanal recorded an adult male returning to the same spot several evenings in a row, rolling a round stone with his paw, just for fun, without any obvious reason. This creature, with the most powerful bite among felines, the absolute ruler of the jungle, plays with a stone in his leisure time. Today, the jaguar is listed as a vulnerable species. Over the past century, its range has nearly halved. Deforestation, habitat fragmentation, and conflicts with livestock farmers are ongoing pressures. Several Latin American countries have united in a project to create what's called the Jaguar Corridor, a continuous strip of protected areas from Mexico to Argentina, allowing these animals to roam without encroaching on human lands. This is one of the most ambitious conservation projects in history, and only time will tell if it succeeds. For now, the jaguar is still here, moving along its hidden paths, gazing from the shadows with golden eyes. A jungle without it is a jungle without heart. But while we were tracking it on the damp ground, just a few meters off the trail, something lay coiled at the base of an old tree, something that doesn't strike quickly and doesn't gaze with golden eyes. It hardly moves, for hours, for days. It simply waits, wrapped in a spiral, and its patience is unwavering. The heaviest snake on earth has already noticed you. You have not noticed it yet. Predator number 3, the anaconda. Let's go back to an incident that took place in 22,000 in the Venezuelan Llanos, the wet plains on the edge of the Amazon basin. Biologist Jessica Dempsey was working with a reptile monitoring team. They were moving along the bank of a shallow stream, the water up to their ankles, surrounded by thick vegetation on both sides. One of the team members paused to make a note in the field journal. Then he looked up and froze. Just 1.5 meters away, a head was slowly rising from the water. Not a small head. Wide like a man's hand, with nostrils at the top and eyes that looked both forward and upward simultaneously. Then more of the body began to surface. And more. The entire snake was in the water, and it was still an impressive sight. The team stood motionless for about a minute. The anaconda assessed the situation and slowly and gracefully slipped beneath the surface, leaving only ripples behind. The green anaconda is the heaviest snake on the planet. It isn't the longest. Length records belong to the reticulated python of Southeast Asia, but no snake can match the anaconda's mass. Large females, who are significantly bigger than males, can weigh over 200 kilograms and reach lengths of 8 to 9 meters. Imagine a garden hose as thick as an adult male's torso and as long as a bus. That's roughly the visual. But that's not what's important. What matters is how it exists in space. On land, the anaconda is clumsy and slow. Its weight hinders movement, making it laborious. But once it enters the water, something remarkable happens. It transforms into an entirely different creature. The water lifts its burden, its body straightens, and it begins to move with grace and fluidity that belies its size. It glides beneath the surface almost without a trace. It can stay underwater for up to 10 minutes without taking a breath. In the murky waters of the Amazon, where visibility drops to zero within just a few centimeters, it becomes completely invisible. The hunt of the anaconda is a tale of patience taken to the extreme. It doesn't chase its prey. Instead, it takes a position, usually in shallow water near the shore, where animals come to drink or cross the river, and waits. Its body lies still on the bottom or is partially submerged at the edge, camouflaged with greenish-black spots that make it nearly indistinguishable from the surrounding aquatic plants and debris. Specialized receptors in its lips, known as pit organs, detect the heat emitted by warm-blooded animals, even in complete darkness. It senses you before you see it. When the prey is close enough to strike, the attack happens so quickly that it appears almost cinematic. The water that was once still suddenly erupts as powerful coils ensnare the animal. The anaconda is not venomous. It doesn't need venom. Its weapon is constriction. And it's important to dispel a common myth here. It doesn't break bones. It operates more subtly. Each time the prey exhales, the coils tighten just a little more, not allowing for a full breath in. Gradually, the space for the lungs shrinks to zero. This doesn't take long. For a large animal, the entire process only lasts a few minutes. The anaconda feeds on whatever it encounters by the water, mainly capybaras, along with waterfowl, large fish, and small caimans. There are documented cases of it consuming deer and even adult pigs. After a large meal, an anaconda can go weeks or even months without eating, as its metabolism slows to a minimum, digesting its prey slowly and completely. It breaks down bones, fur, and hooves, everything. The efficiency of this digestive system would astonish any engineer. Now, let's talk about humans, and it's important to do so without exaggeration, as there are already enough myths surrounding the anaconda. Hollywood has turned it into a monster that deliberately hunts people, but that's simply not true. There are very few documented cases of an anaconda attacking a human in the wild, and most of these are related to situations where a person has cornered or grabbed the snake. To an anaconda, a human is an unfamiliar and potentially dangerous creature. Its instinct when encountering us is usually to retreat. However, there are exceptions. In 2000 Pitnansit in Indonesia, where a similar species, the reticulated python, resides, there was a case that made headlines worldwide. A local farmer disappeared on the island of Sulawesi. He was later found inside a large python that had been captured nearby. This case is documented, has been filmed, and studied by herpetologists. The specialist conclusion? What happened is an exceptional rarity and uncharacteristic behavior for the species, but it's still possible. For the residents of Amazonian villages, the anaconda is part of the landscape, respected but not feared. Its presence in the river is normal. Local divers who fish in the waters know where the big snakes tend to linger and avoid those areas, not out of fear, but out of sensible caution. It's similar to how a city dweller avoids a construction site. They know it's dangerous and don't venture in unnecessarily. And now, let's explore the moment that changes everything about this creature. Anacondas come together to form mating balls, a phenomenon that ranks among the most bizarre and captivating in the reptile world. During mating season, several males, sometimes as many as 12, entwine themselves around a single female, creating a massive wriggling ball of snakes that can last for weeks. The female moves, and the males follow closely, never breaking contact. Researchers who witnessed this in the wild for the first time described it as utterly surreal, a colossal living knot, slowly pulsating at the riverbank. Female anacondas are viviparous, they don't lay eggs. The young are born alive, fully formed, measuring about 60 centimeters each. A single litter can contain up to 40 offspring. From the moment they are born, they are entirely independent. The mother doesn't raise them. They slip into the water and begin to hunt immediately. A newly born anaconda is already a predator, already patient, already capable of waiting. The ecological role of the anaconda in the Amazon system is immense. It regulates the population of capybaras, which, if left unchecked, can devastate the riverside vegetation of entire river systems. It maintains a balance that has existed for millions of years. Where anacondas disappear due to poaching or habitat destruction, ecosystems begin to unravel rapidly and significantly. It lies in its river, waiting, gazing upwards through the murky water at a world that thinks it is safe. For 80 million years, this balance has functioned seamlessly. There's simply no reason to change it. But while we're looking down into the dark water, high above, beyond the jungle canopy, something with a wingspan of 2 meters soars in the warm, rising air. It sees everything, each movement in the treetops, every gap in the foliage. The next predator looks down from above, and from that vantage point, what it sees leaves prey with no illusions. This predator, the fourth in our tale, is the harpy eagle. Imagine you're a monkey, a howler monkey, let's say, big, weighing around 8 kilograms, perched on a branch about 30 meters above the ground. Surrounded by thick foliage, you're in your element. You were born here and know every branch. Below you are the jungles you fear. There's a jaguar down there and an anaconda. But you're up high. You feel safe. Until something bursts through the trees beside you at 80 kilometers per hour, grabs you with its talons, and you don't even have time to scream. The harpy eagle, Harpia harpygia, is the aerial jaguar. Not a metaphor, it's a literal description of what this bird represents in the jungle ecosystem. Just as the jaguar controls what happens on the ground, the harpy eagle rules the treetops, wielding the same absolute, undeniable power. Visually, it resembles a being that was pieced together from several different birds. Its head is almost white, adorned with a dark band across its chest, like a collar. A crown of gray feathers adorns its head, which the bird raises in a fan when it feels alert or agitated, transforming its face into something almost human in expression. Huge yellow eyes gaze directly and unblinkingly, like an owl's, but without its gentle nighttime softness. This gaze is cold and utterly focused. Its back is dark gray, nearly black, while its belly is white. And then there are the legs. This is where things get serious. The legs of the harpy eagle are the stuff of ornithological admiration, sparking both awe and a hint of trepidation. The rear talons, its primary hunting weapon, reach lengths of 12 to 13 centimeters. That's the size of a brown bear's claws. On a bird. The grip strength of its legs is so immense that it can crush the bones of large animals. When a harpy seizes its prey, there's no escaping its grasp. It's a one-way mechanism. The harder the prey struggles, the deeper the talons dig into its body. With a wingspan of about 2 meters, a paradox emerges that sets the harpy eagle apart among large raptors. Despite this expansive wingspan, its wings are relatively short and very broad. This is not a bird of open spaces meant to glide over plains. It is a bird of the forest. Its short, wide wings enable it to maneuver swiftly between tree trunks at full speed, literally weaving into the forest, executing turns that seem physically impossible for a creature of its size. Researchers who have witnessed this phenomenon describe it in one word: incredible. The harpy hunts in the treetops, at heights ranging from 15 to 50 meters above the ground. Its primary targets are sloths and monkeys. Both are challenging prey. Despite its reputation for being slow, a sloth clings to branches with a grip that is hard to overstate. Its claws are literally locked in a curled position by a tendon mechanism, and it takes effort to unclench them. A dead sloth will continue to hang from a branch. The harpy must literally rip it away. And it does so because its powerful legs make it possible. Monkeys present a greater challenge. Howler monkeys and spider monkeys are social animals, and they have lookout members and a warning system for threats. When a harpy appears within sight, the troop raises an alarm, and everyone hides in the dense foliage. The harpy is aware of this. Therefore, it doesn't attack right away. It perches on a high branch at a distance and waits. It can remain still for an hour, 2, or even 3. The troop settles down again. The monkeys start to move once more. And in that moment, without a sound, it launches a swift, diving strike from the tree canopy, which the monkeys don't perceive until the last second, as the harpy approaches from above, where its silhouette is concealed by thick leaves. Naturalist David Letts, who worked in Panama, described a scene he observed through binoculars. A harpy attacked a spider monkey, missed, landed on a branch 10 meters away from the troop, shook itself off, and waited again, completely unruffled. The monkeys screamed and hurled branches at it. The harpy regarded them with the expression of a creature that isn't in a hurry. 20 minutes later, she took off, circled above the treetops, and then vanished. The hunt did not happen, but it didn't feel like a defeat. It felt like a decision postponed. Harpy eagles mate for life. This is not just a beautiful phrase from a documentary. It's a literal fact with practical implications. Male and female eagles occupy a vast territory that they defend together. They build their nest at the top of the tallest tree in the area, usually a kapok, a giant of the Amazon rainforest, towering above the jungle like a spire. The nest is huge, constructed from thick branches, eventually reaching the size of a small table. They use it for years, adding to it each season. A harpy eagle always raises a single chick, just one, taking 2 years to nurture. This is one of the longest periods of parental care among raptors on the planet. Initially, the female rarely leaves the nest while the male brings food for both of them. Later, as the chick grows, both parents hunt, bringing back food in turns. They teach the chick gradually. First, it simply watches as they prepare the catch. Then it starts to attempt the task itself, clumsy and often unsuccessful. The parents aren't in a hurry. They are patient. They continue to feed it. This creature invests so much time and resources into a single chick that losing an egg or a fledgling is a catastrophe, pushing the pair back 2 years. Indigenous peoples of the Amazon, especially the tribes living along the river's upper reaches, revere the harpy as a sacred bird. Its feathers were used in the ceremonial headdresses of chiefs and shamans, not because they were easy to obtain, but quite the opposite. The value of the feathers was determined by how difficult they were to acquire. The bird itself, its image, symbolizes power over the space between heaven and earth, between worlds. In the mythology of the Waorani, a people of the Ecuadorian jungles, the harpy is the eye of the sky, seeing everything that happens in the forest. It's a compelling image. Today, harpy eagles are under threat. Not because they are actively hunted, though that does occur, particularly by ranchers who perceive them as a threat to their livestock. The main issue is deforestation. Harpies need old, giant trees for nesting. They require a pristine territory of hundreds of square kilometers for hunting. Fragmented, cut forests are a death sentence for a species that cannot adapt to environmental changes as quickly as smaller birds can. The population is slowly but surely decreasing. As the old forests disappear, so do they. Panama has made the harpy its national symbol. Brazil has included it among protected species, imposing strict penalties for harm done to them. In several countries, breeding programs are in place, with subsequent releases into the wild. The results so far are cautiously encouraging. She is still out there, sitting high up, where the trees pierce the clouds, where the wind feels different, watching with her cold, yellow eyes, seeing what you cannot see, waiting. And this waiting is not empty, but from the sky, downward, to where sunlight hardly reaches. In dark waters beneath submerged logs, in muddy backwaters where the water remains almost still, smelling of peat and clay, lurks a predator that does not fly or walk. It swims, and it carries within it something that nature usually reserves for lightning bolts and storm clouds. Meet the fifth predator, the electric eel. In 1749, German naturalist Peter Simon Pallas received a letter from a fellow researcher in South America. The letter described a creature that Pallas initially dismissed as a myth or exaggeration. The locals, his colleague wrote, are afraid of certain waters not because of caimans or snakes, but because of a fish that delivers electric shocks. A fish that can knock a horse to the ground. A creature that has the power to stop a heart. Pallas forwarded the letter to Carl Linnaeus, the father of modern taxonomy. Linnaeus read it, pondered, and added the creature to the registry, recognizing that something so extraordinary could not be a mere fabrication. The electric eel, or Electrophorus electricus, is not an eel in the strict biological sense. It's a distinct species, closely related to carp and catfish. It got its name for its elongated, cylindrical, and slippery shape, which lacks scales. It can grow up to 2.5 meters long and weigh as much as 20 kilograms. This creature lives exclusively in the freshwater rivers of the Amazon and Orinoco, preferring murky, slow-moving waters, flooded forests, and swampy backwaters that even locals seldom venture into. In appearance, it's rather unremarkable. With its dark olive body, yellowish belly, and small head featuring tiny eyes, the electric eel doesn't rely on vision. Its habitat is so murky that eyesight is practically useless. Evolution recognized this long ago and redirected energy away from eye development. Instead, it invested in a unique ability: electricity. About 80% of the electric eel's body is composed of 3 specialized organs made of modified muscle cells called electrocytes. Each of these cells acts like a tiny battery. Together, they form a biological power plant unlike any other in the animal kingdom. Now, let's discuss its electric discharge. This is where things get truly mind-boggling. The electric eel can generate voltages of up to 800 volts. In comparison, a standard European outlet provides 220 volts, while an American outlet offers 110. A lightning strike measures around 300 million volts, but lasts for only a fraction of a second. The eel can hold its charge for a longer duration and repeat it multiple times. The current can reach 1 ampere, and it only takes 1/10 of an ampere to induce fibrillation in the human heart. You do the math. But what makes the electric eel an exceptional specimen from a scientific perspective is that it uses electricity not just as a weapon. It has 3 different electrical modes, each serving a unique purpose. The first mode produces weak, continuous low-voltage impulses. This is its navigation and perception system. These impulses create an electric field around its body, which the eel detects through specialized receptors, allowing it to understand its surroundings. Every object in the water, be it a stone, a piece of driftwood, or a living creature, distorts the surrounding electric field in its own way. The eel perceives its environment much like a blind person reads Braille, using its electroreceptors instead of fingers. The second mode involves a series of quick, high-voltage pulses. This is a hunting tool. When the eel detects potential prey, a small fish, a frog, or a water-dwelling rodent, it doesn't strike immediately. Instead, it releases a sequence of impulses that activate the motor nerves of the prey from a distance. The victim's muscles begin to involuntarily contract. This is known as tetanus, or muscle spasm. The prey inadvertently reveals its location through these twitching movements. The eel pinpoints the exact position and only then delivers its powerful strike. The third mode was discovered fairly recently. In 2015, biologist Kenneth Catania of Vanderbilt University published research that changed everything scientists believed about this creature. It turns out that when the eel senses a threat, be it a large animal or a person entering the water, it doesn't just discharge electricity randomly, it does something fundamentally different. It curves its body in an arc, positioning the poles of its electrical system on either side of the threat, and releases a directed discharge aimed straight at the target. This is not a chance strike. It's a focus shot. Catania conducted an experiment that has become a staple in neurobiology textbooks. He submerged an artificial arm made of conductive material into a tank with the eel. The eel attacked it with a directed discharge, accurately focusing the electric field on this object of threat. Then, Catania submerged a real arm, protected by a special insulating sleeve. The eel's strike landed precisely on the exposed wrist above the sleeve, every single time. The story about the horses is not a legend. Alexander von Humboldt, the great German naturalist, documented in his early 19th century diaries from Venezuela the method local people used to catch electric eels. They would drive horses and mules into a lagoon, where the animals would stir up the eels on the bottom with their hooves. The eels would then attack, discharging electricity into the water. The horses would either collapse or bolt in panic. As the eels unleashed their electric charges, they depleted their energy reserves. Generating these discharges requires resources. After a series of powerful strikes, the eels needed time to recover, much like muscles after an intense workout. In that moment, exhausted eels were caught. Humboldt witnessed this scene in person and described it with unmistakable horror. Panicking horses, churning water, and eels attacking again and again. Electric eels reproduce in an unusual way, even by Amazonian standards. During the dry season, when water levels drop and lagoons shrink, the male builds a nest out of its own saliva, literally from foam made from saliva. The female lays her eggs in this foam. The male guards the nest and aerates it by moving its body to create currents in the water. From a single batch, up to 17,000 fry can emerge. 17,000 tiny electric eels, each capable of generating weak electrical impulses right from birth. The first thing they do upon hatching is navigate their surroundings using an electric field. They are born already connected. The scientific importance of this creature cannot be overstated. Studying its electric organs has sparked an entire field in neurobiology and bioelectronics. The mechanism behind the electrocytes has laid the groundwork for the development of biological batteries, power sources that can operate inside the human body to support medical implants. Next-generation pacemakers, neural interfaces, monitoring systems, all owe their existence in part to the murky waters of the Amazon and to the creature that evolution has turned into a living capacitor. In 2017, scientists discovered that the electric eel is not just one species, but three. Genetic analysis revealed that these creatures, which appear almost identical, actually diverged millions of years ago. One of the new species, Electrophorus voltae, can produce a shock of up to 600 volts, a world record among all living beings on the planet. No other animal can deliver a stronger jolt. Right now, it lies at the bottom of its habitat, shrouded in darkness and mud, surrounded by its invisible electric field, painting a picture of the world more accurately than any eye could. It senses every movement in the water, every living creature within a few meters. It knows you're there, even if you're standing ankle-deep in water, thinking you've simply crossed a river. And it decides whether to expend its charge. More often than not, it decides it's not worth it. But sometimes, it makes a different choice. We've talked about creatures that strike with mass, speed, strength, and electricity. But the jungle can pose dangers of entirely different scales. The next predator weighs less than a gram. It has 6 legs, and its bite is the only one in the world with its own unit of pain measurement. The researcher who first allowed it to sting him deliberately described the sensation in 3 words: pure, blinding, lightning. Meet the 6th predator, the bullet ant. There's a man in the scientific community simply known as Schmidt. Justin Schmidt, an entomologist from Arizona, has dedicated a significant portion of his career to an endeavor that many would consider either a feat of courage or a serious lapse in judgment. He developed a pain scale for insect stings, and to do this, he allowed himself to be stung by all the species he studied. Personally, methodically, with a scientific notebook at the ready. Schmidt's scale covers over 25 species of stinging insects. At the top of this scale is the only species awarded the maximum rating of 4 out of 4, the bullet ant, Paraponera clavata. Schmidt described its sting as feeling like a red-hot nail driven into your finger and left there for 24 hours. 24 hours, not seconds, not minutes. A full day of unrelenting pain from a single sting of a 2-centimeter insect. The bullet ant inhabits lowland tropical forests, from Nicaragua to Bolivia, with a particular concentration in the Amazon basin. Visually, the bullet ant is large for an ant, dark brown, almost black, with a well-defined stinger at the end of its abdomen. Its colonies are small compared to the ant world, consisting of only a few thousand individuals, sometimes even fewer. Nests are usually found at the base of large trees, partly underground and partly within decaying roots. Locating a colony is not easy. They don't build noticeable mounds, and the entrance resembles a small hole in the ground or between roots. Worker ants forage mainly in trees, climbing their trunks to significant heights to collect nectar, small arthropods, and organic fragments. This is often where accidental encounters with humans occur. You might grab a tree trunk and suddenly there's a bullet ant on your hand that you didn't notice. Then comes the sting. It's not because the ant is aggressive, it's merely defending itself. But the outcome is the same. The substance it injects with its sting is called ponerotoxin. This neurotoxin directly affects the nervous system, blocking the normal transmission of nerve signals and causing uncontrollable, continuous activation of pain receptors. It's not inflammation like a bee sting. It's a direct interference in the electrochemistry of the nerves. The pain doesn't build gradually or come in waves. It's constant and at maximum intensity from the very first second. Accompanying the pain are swelling, tremors in the affected limb, and sometimes temporary paralysis of the arm muscles. Some people report coordination issues and mild confusion. Ponerotoxin affects not just the peripheral nervous system, but also the central nervous system. Interestingly, Schmidt isn't the only scientist who has willingly undergone this experience. Naturalist and science communicator Gordon Stables described his encounter with the bullet ant during an expedition in Costa Rica. Accidentally resting his hand on a trunk, he received a sting to his palm and spent the next few hours sitting on the ground and swaying, not from weakness, but because the motion offered a slight distraction. He could only write about it the next day. His hand remained painfully sensitive for 2 more days afterward. Now, here's a twist that changes everything. The Sateri-Mawe people, indigenous to the Brazilian Amazon, use bullet ants in a rite of passage for young men. Voluntarily, deliberately, as a central element of their transition to adulthood. The women of the tribe collect the ants, immerse them in a narcotic herbal brew, which induces a state close to stupor, and weave them into special gloves made of plant fibers, with the stingers facing inward. Once the ants come to, the gloves are placed on the hands of the young man undergoing initiation. He must keep them on for 10 minutes. Not scream. Not take them off. Stand still. 10 minutes with hundreds of bullet ants simultaneously stinging both hands. And this isn't a one-time ritual. To gain the status of a full-fledged warrior, the young man must undergo this ritual 20 times over the course of several years. After each session, his hands are temporarily paralyzed, covered in blisters, and tremble for hours. Some anthropologists observing the ritual noted that the young men don't scream, but their faces reveal everything. The tribe believes that pain purifies and strengthens. A warrior who has endured this 20 times fears nothing. It's hard to argue with that logic. As for the role of the bullet ant in the ecosystem, it's significant, though not as obvious as that of the jaguar or the caiman. Bullet ant colonies play a vital role in aerating the soil, mixing organic material, and dispersing seeds. Their aggressive defense of their nest means that the trees they inhabit gain unexpected bodyguards. Few animals will risk lingering near such a tree. Certain plant species seem to exude substances that attract these ants, securing protection in exchange for nectar. The jungle is full of such deals, made millions of years before humans coined the term symbiosis. Research on ponerotoxin is ongoing. The neurotoxins that target specific pain channels with such precision are of immense interest to pharmacology. Understanding how they work could unlock the potential for developing entirely new pain relief medications, not ones that block the entire nervous system like morphine, but ones that act with target precision. A creature that inflicts one of the most intense pains in the animal kingdom might illuminate the path to overcoming that pain. Nature loves such paradoxes. The bullet ant knows none of this. It simply marches along a tree trunk, busy with its own affairs, carrying a food fragment back to its nest somewhere below. It's not aggressive without reason. It doesn't hunt people. It doesn't choose a victim. It merely exists in the jungle, where every living thing has long subscribed to a simple rule: don't touch, don't get hurt. This rule holds, unless you accidentally grab the wrong branch. But from a creature that conquers with pain comes one that conquers with beauty. The next predator is one of the most stunning inhabitants of the jungle: brightly blue, or venomously yellow, or fiery red. Loud, showy, and visible from afar. And it is this beauty that serves as the deadliest weapon evolution has conceived. Because it signals one thing: keep your distance, yet people approach anyway. Predator 7, the poison frogs. In 1969, American herpetologist Charles Myers was working in the jungles of western Colombia. He was collecting samples, standard routine work done 1,000 times before. At one point, he spotted a tiny frog on a leaf. Bright yellow with black spots, the size of a grape, completely still and making no effort to hide. Myers picked it up. The frog offered no resistance. Moments later, he felt a tingling in his fingers. Then his palm went numb. Soon he felt weakness in his arm up to the elbow. He carefully placed the frog back on the leaf and washed his hands thoroughly in the nearest stream. The numbness faded after about an hour. Myers made a note in his field journal, collected a sample with tweezers and gloves, and returned to camp. The frog he held in his hands belonged to a species whose venom is hundreds of times more toxic than a cobra's. Poison dart frogs, or Dendrobatidae, are a prime example of how evolution can turn weakness into an extraordinary strength. This small, soft creature, lacking claws, teeth, or physical power, has become one of the most dangerous animals on the planet simply by altering the chemistry of its skin. And it screams this fact to the world in the loudest way possible, through its color. There are around 270 species of these frogs, most measuring between 1 and 6 centimeters. They inhabit the tropical forests of Central and South America. Remarkably, nearly all of them are colored in a way that, in normal circumstances, would seem like a death wish, being so conspicuous in a world where predators are constantly hunting. Bright blue with black spots, fiery red with blue limbs, neon yellow, orange, turquoise, striped color combinations that look like they've been painted by someone with exceptional style and a complete disregard for self-preservation. But this isn't recklessness. It's a form of advertising. More specifically, it's an absolute warning. In biology, this phenomenon is known as aposematism, bright coloration as a danger signal. Most animals that attempt to eat a poisoned dart frog learn their lesson quickly and never make the same mistake again. Those who survive their first encounter remember the bright colors forever. Those who don't survive don't pass on their genes. Evolution has favored predators for whom the sight of a yellow and black or red and blue frog triggers an instinctive response of disgust and retreat. This system has been in place for millions of years. The poison of these frogs consists of alkaloids, which are accumulated in their skin glands. Crucially, the frogs do not produce the poison themselves. They gather it from their diet. Their primary source is tiny creatures like mites, millipedes, and other small arthropods that feed on toxic plants or fungi, thus containing alkaloids in their tissues. When a frog consumes them, the alkaloids remain intact through digestion, transporting to their skin glands where they accumulate. The more varied their diet, the more toxic the frog. This discovery has led to a striking practical consequence. Poison dart frogs raised in captivity on a sterile diet of crickets and fruit flies are completely non-toxic. They are absolutely safe to handle. The same species captured in the wild is deadly. The only difference is their diet. The poison is not innate, it is acquired through what they eat. The most toxic of them all is the golden poison frog, Phyllobates terribilis. Bright yellow and almost glowing, it's about the size of a large grape. One individual holds enough batrachotoxin, the primary alkaloid in its skin, to theoretically be lethal to 10 adult humans. Batrachotoxin blocks sodium channels in heart and nerve cells, causing the heart to lose its ability to contract properly and muscles to cease functioning. The process is irreversible without an antidote, which, strictly speaking, doesn't exist as a specific treatment. Care is purely symptomatic. The prognosis depends on the dosage and the speed of medical intervention. The indigenous Choco people of Western Colombia have traditionally used the skin of the poison dart frog for poisoning their hunting darts, hence the English name for the family. The technique for extracting the toxin required precise knowledge and careful handling, passed down through generations. The frog was carefully held over a fire, or irritated to cause its skin to secrete the toxin, which was then applied to the tips of darts. One frog could provide enough toxin for dozens of dart tips. Prey struck by such a dart would lose its ability to move within minutes. Myers, the scientist we mentioned earlier, dedicated several decades to studying poison dart frogs. He described dozens of new species and developed safe methods for working with these toxic amphibians in the field. In one interview, he was asked if he was scared when he handled that frog bare-handed back in '69. Myers paused and said he felt scared later when he understood what he had held. The social life of poison dart frogs is quite unusual for frogs. While most amphibians are solitary and indifferent to their offspring, dart frogs are different. Many species form monogamous pairs. Males actively defend their territory, engaging in ritual confrontations with rivals. They push, wrestle, but rarely cause any real harm to each other. Females lay a small number of eggs, sometimes just a few, hidden away in a safe spot on the ground or on a leaf. This is where researchers describe what can be seen as miniature selfless parenting. The male regularly returns to the clutch, moistening the eggs and protecting them from small predators. When the tadpoles hatch, tiny and helpless, the parent allows them to climb onto its back. Literally. The tadpoles cling to the adult frog's skin for a ride. The parent carries them to water, be it a small pond, a bromeliad filled with rainwater, or a tree hollow with a little puddle. In some species, the mother returns to each tadpole individually, laying an unfertilized egg next to it for food. It's like personal food delivery for each little one. In the jungle, where survival is paramount, this frog, no bigger than your fingernail, keeps returning to its unseen young, invisible without a magnifying glass. Today, poison dart frogs are under threat, not from predators as their toxin offers reliable protection against most. The threat comes from a source they cannot defend against: habitat loss due to deforestation, climate change, and shifts in the populations of the mites and centipedes they feed on. Chytridiomycosis, a fungal disease that has wiped out hundreds of amphibian species worldwide over the past few decades, has also affected some dart frogs. Creatures that survived the dinosaurs now face a threat that their toxin cannot combat. Meanwhile, pharmacology is watching dart frogs with great interest. Epibetadine, a compound extracted from the skin of one species, has been found to be the first of times more effective than morphine as a painkiller in laboratory settings. Unfortunately, at the same dose, it is toxic. However, understanding its structure has provided chemists with a model to develop synthetic analogs without the toxic effects. This small poisonous frog from the Amazon rainforest may point the way to a next-generation painkiller, just as the bullet ant leads us to insights about pain pathways. The jungle is a library of chemical solutions, one that humanity has only just started to explore. Right now, it sits motionless on a leaf, bright blue, absolutely confident in its safety, because that safety is built into its very cells. It weighs less than a coin, gazing at the world with its tiny golden eyes. The entire world, which learns from its mistakes, watches it carefully, and steers clear. But while we are looking at something small and vibrant, from the leaf litter at our feet, something long and thick emerges slowly and silently. Not as long as an anaconda, but the anaconda doesn't have venomous fangs. The next predator does. Its venom is so complex that medical professionals consider it one of the most challenging to treat in the Western Hemisphere. Meet Predator 8, the Bushmaster. In 1938, American herpetologist Thomas Barber wrote a letter to a colleague from Trinidad. He had just returned from a week-long trek through the lush forests of the island's northern coast and wanted to share an observation. Not about a new species, nor a rare specimen in his collection. He wrote about a feeling. In certain parts of the forest, dense, damp areas where the ground springs underfoot from a thick layer of humus, he constantly felt he was being watched. Something large, unmoving, close by. He passed through those areas 4 times that week, yet he never saw the snake. But he did see tracks in the soft earth, wide characteristic marks, twice. Barber wrote, "It's the only animal in my career that made me walk faster, without ever seeing it." The bushmaster, or Lachesis muta, is the largest venomous snake in the Western Hemisphere, and one of the largest on the planet. Adult specimens can reach lengths of 3.5, sometimes even 4 meters, and can weigh up to 5 kilograms. While it doesn't hold the record for length, those belong to the king cobra and the reticulated python, the bushmaster possesses unique traits that make it particularly special. A large size, long venomous fangs measuring up to 4 centimeters, a highly toxic venom, and a temperament that herpetologists describe with caution as unpredictable. Its appearance seems as if nature deliberately crafted a warning sign. It has a massive body, adorned with a characteristic diamond pattern, dark brown diamonds against a pinkish-beige background, clear and geometrically precise. The skin feels rough to the touch, with pronounced ridges on the scales, a unique texture for a snake. Its tail ends in a solid spike, a keratinous growth whose function remains unclear. The head is broad and triangular, with deep pits for heat sensing located between the nostrils and eyes. These infrared sensors allow it to accurately locate warm-blooded prey in complete darkness. Eyes with vertical pupils are a characteristic of a nocturnal predator. The bushmaster inhabits the lowland, humid forests stretching from southern Central America through the entire Amazon to the Atlantic coast of Brazil. It prefers untouched primary forests and avoids fragmented, deforested areas, unlike many other snakes that adapt to altered environments. This makes the bushmaster a unique indicator. Where you find it, the forest is still intact. It hunts at night using a method known as ambush waiting, an art form perfected by the bushmaster. It chooses a position along an animal trail or at the base of a tree near the burrows of rodents and remains perfectly still. Not for an hour or two, documented observations have recorded individuals lying in wait for over 2 weeks straight. 2 weeks in the same spot, waiting for suitable prey to pass by. Its patience isn't passivity, it's a strategy. The bushmaster conserves energy entirely and then unleashes it in a swift strike when the moment is right. Its primary diet consists of rodents, pack rats, agoutis, and paca, all large tropical rodents about the size of a small rabbit. Occasionally, it also feeds on small opossums, lizards, and ground-nesting birds. The strike comes from ambush in a split second, bite, venom injection, and immediate release of the prey. Unlike some pythons, the bushmaster does not hold on to its catch. It releases and waits. Then it follows the trail of its dying prey using its heat signature and smell. This strategy minimizes the risk of injury from bites or scratches from a struggling victim. It's cold evolutionary logic. The bushmaster's venom is a complex mixture that works in multiple ways. It contains hemorrhagic factors that destroy blood vessel walls from the inside, proteases that dissolve tissue proteins, and substances that disrupt blood clotting. The result is extensive internal bleeding in the tissue surrounding the bite site, kidney dysfunction, decreased blood pressure, and in severe cases, multiple organ failure. A bite from a large bushmaster without medical intervention is a serious threat to life. Antivenom exists, but its effectiveness is lower than that against most other rattlesnakes. The bushmaster is evolutionarily distant from its closest relatives, and its venom has components against which standard serums are less effective. Another complication is geography. The bushmaster lives exactly where medical help is least accessible, deep in the jungle, in remote villages with no roads. The time from the bite to receiving antivenom is critical, often measured in hours or days, time that the victim may not have. Attacks on humans are rare but documented. Most of these incidents result from accidental stepping on or touching the snake in the dark. Unlike many snakes, the bushmaster doesn't always retreat when approached by a person. Some individuals exhibit behavior that herpetologists delicately term positional steadfastness. The snake does not attack without provocation, but also does not retreat. It simply remains in place. It watches. What it's waiting for is unclear. This is the unpredictability Barber wrote about. Among the local populations of the Amazon regions, the Bushmaster is regarded with a unique attitude. It's not pure fear, but something more complex. It's a combination of respect and superstition. In Brazil's Pará state, it's called surucucu, a term whose origin is debated, yet locals whisper it. Experienced hunters reportedly turn back when they spot Bushmaster tracks on the trail. Not out of cowardice, but from practical wisdom. Some hunts are worth the risk, others are not. Now, here's an unexpected fact that changes everything. The Bushmaster is the only egg-laying pit viper in the New World. All its relatives in the pit viper family, rattlesnakes, fer-de-lance, and bushmasters, give live birth. The Bushmaster lays eggs, anywhere from 5 to 18 in a clutch. And, surprisingly for a snake, the female stays with the clutch. Coiled around her eggs, she remains motionless for weeks. During this time, she is particularly dangerous. Any approach to the nest is seen as a threat. A female Bushmaster at her nest is an undeniable force. The hatchlings emerge fully formed and venomous. A small Bushmaster measuring around 30 centimeters holds venom with the same chemical composition as that of an adult. The concentration may be lower, but it should not be underestimated. Science is intrigued by Bushmaster venom, much like it is with poison dart frogs and bullet ants. One of the components, a protein called lacusin, is being studied as a potential treatment for thrombosis. Its ability to disrupt blood clotting, fatal in the context of a bite, could be beneficial in controlled microdoses for dissolving dangerous clots in blood vessels. The same molecule, in a different context, may save lives instead of ending them. Right now, it lies somewhere in this forest, perhaps just a meter from the trail, maybe closer. The leaf litter conceals its geometric pattern as effectively as camouflage nets hide a tank. Its heat sensors have already detected your approach. It decides. Its patience is infinite. It will wait. But we carefully move away, avoiding sudden movements and stepping only where we can see, and we lift our gaze. Because the next predator doesn't lie on the ground or sit on a branch. It resides in the tree forks, in dark, damp corners where light doesn't reach. It's furry, palm-sized, and its name, Goliath, is well-deserved. Predator 9, the Goliath tarantula. In 2023, British naturalist Pip Sayer was following a night route in the Venezuelan jungles of Bolivar State. With a headlamp, a voice recorder in his pocket, and a notebook in hand, standard gear for a field researcher, he shone his light under tree roots, fallen trunks, and into crevices at the bases of large trees. He was searching for amphibians. At one point, his beam fell on a burrow beneath a root, broad, with characteristic silky threads at the entrance lining the edges. Sayer crouched down and shone his light inside. From the darkness of the burrow, 8 eyes gazed back at him. Then a body began to emerge from the hole. He later said he realized this was it. Theraphosa blondi, the Goliath bird-eater spider. He stepped back half a pace. The spider paused at the entrance, extended its pedipalps, its front limbs that act as sensors for touch and smell, and froze. They stared at each other for about a minute. Then the spider slowly retreated back into the darkness. Sayer exhaled and recorded into his voice recorder. Leg span, approximately 28 centimeters, about the size of a dinner plate. The Goliath bird-eater, Theraphosa blondi, is the largest spider on Earth by weight and leg span. Record specimens can reach a leg span of 30 centimeters and weigh up to 170 grams. For a creature with an exoskeleton and 8 legs, those numbers are enormous. It lives in the tropical rainforests of Venezuela, northern Brazil, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana, in the wettest, most impenetrable areas where the soil never dries out and the air is saturated with moisture. The name bird-eater can be misleading. It originated in the 18th century when European naturalists published an engraving that depicted a spider consuming a hummingbird. This event was real, but it was exceptional. Birds are not a staple part of the Goliath's diet and are rarely caught, only if they come very close to its burrow and act carelessly. The usual menu is much more mundane. Large insects, cockroaches, crickets, centipedes, small lizards, frogs, and sometimes small mice. Essentially, anything that moves and fits within its pincers. It hunts at night, emerging from its burrow to slowly patrol a small area around it. Its vision is poor. Those 8 eyes provide a general sense of light and movement, but not a detailed image. The primary sensory organs are the hairs on its body and limbs, which detect the slightest vibrations in the ground and air. An insect passing within a meter of a Goliath creates vibrations that can be felt throughout its body. It can determine the direction and distance with accuracy that compensates for its near-total lack of normal vision. In the absolute darkness of the tropical night, where a flashlight barely reaches 5 meters ahead, it navigates better than most creatures with normal eyesight. When prey is detected, it strikes. The Goliath is surprisingly fast for its size. Its chelicerae, the upper mouth parts ending in sharp hooks, pierce the prey's body, injecting venom and digestive enzymes simultaneously. The venom paralyzes, while the enzymes begin dissolving the prey's insides even while it's still alive. The spider effectively starts digesting food externally, turning its victim's insides into a liquid that it then sucks up. After a few hours, a large cockroach is left with nothing but an empty chitinous exoskeleton. Now, regarding how dangerous it is to humans, this is where we need to be precise, avoiding Hollywood-style exaggeration. The Goliath's venom is relatively weak by spider standards. For a person, a Goliath's bite feels similar to a hornet sting, painful, with localized swelling, and sometimes nausea. It's not deadly. There are no documented cases of human fatalities from the bite of Theraphosa blondi. The threat it poses is of a different kind. The Goliath has a weapon that most people are unaware of, and it uses it long before resorting to a bite. On its abdomen, it has specialized urticating hairs. When the spider senses a threat, it rubs these hairs with its back legs, sending a cloud of them toward the danger. These hairs are microscopic and serrated along their length. Upon contact with the skin, they can cause itching and rashes. If they get into the eyes, serious inflammation can occur. If inhaled, they can trigger prolonged bronchospasms, which could be dangerous for individuals with asthma or allergies. This isn't a bite, it's a chemical attack from a distance. The first warning? You won't even get close. The second warning comes in the form of sound. The Goliath can stridulate, rubbing specialized structures on its pedipalps against its chelicerae to create a hissing noise audible from several meters away. In the absolute silence of a nighttime forest, this sound creates an effect that Sayre described in his notes as an immediate desire to rethink your path. The warning is clear. There's still time to retreat. The spider doesn't want to waste venom on something that isn't food. Goliath reproduction is a whole dramatic story on its own. Males live significantly shorter lives than females, 3 to 6 years compared to the 15 to 25 years of females. Once they reach sexual maturity, males leave their burrows and start their search for a mate. This journey is the most dangerous of their lives. The female Goliath is aggressive and cannot differentiate at first between food and a potential partner. Males send out special vibration signals through the female's web, a kind of code indicating their intentions. If the female is receptive and the signal is recognized correctly, mating occurs. If not, the male risks becoming lunch, and not in a metaphorical sense. After mating, the female lays between 100 and 200 eggs in a silk cocoon, which she carries with her and protects with a level of aggression that far exceeds her usual caution. In about 2 months, the spiderlings hatch, tiny but fully formed, already equipped with hairs and chelicerae. For several weeks, they stay close to their mother before each disperses to build its own burrow. Indigenous peoples of the region, the Yanomami, Paman, and some Caribbean groups, eat Goliath. This isn't just about exotic cuisine. It's a source of protein readily available in a forest where larger animals are skittish and hunting them requires significant effort. The spiders are prepared by wrapping them in banana leaves and placing them in the embers of a fire. The urticating hairs lose their potency when heated. According to those who have tried this dish, the taste is reminiscent of mild white meat with a nutty aftertaste. Local children view the spider without fear. To them, it's just a part of the forest, big, hairy, and useful. The Goliath also molts, shedding its exoskeleton as it grows. The process takes several hours, during which the spider is completely vulnerable. Its old exoskeleton cracks, and the spider slowly emerges, literally turning inside out. First, its legs appear, followed by its body. The new exoskeleton is soft, almost transparent, and hardens gradually over the next few days. During this time, the spider does not eat, does not leave its burrow, and does not actively defend itself. It simply waits for its armor to become armor again. Female spiders molt throughout their lives, while males stop after reaching sexual maturity. This is one reason for their shorter lifespan. Without the ability to renew their exoskeleton, their bodies age more quickly. Right now, it's down there in its burrow, in the dark earth beneath the roots, sensing every vibration from above. It can feel your footsteps. It can feel your breath. It knows you are there, and it has made a choice to stay in its burrow. You are too big to be food, and too noisy to be a threat worth confronting. This is a mutual decision. You move on, and it stays put. However, while we focus downward, into the burrows and darkness, high above, on a branch you wouldn't notice, a creature is poised, hunting the Goliath. Not the smaller spiders, but the Goliath itself. A wasp that can defeat the largest spider on Earth in a one-on-one battle, executing something so intricate that scientists still debate how to categorize it ethically. It's the predator from hell, the tarantula hawk wasp. In 1973, entomologist Howard Evans from Colorado State University published a paper that sent ripples through the scientific community, akin to a mild earthquake. Not because he described a new species, this species was known for a long time, but because Evans systematically compiled everything science knew at that time about the behavior of the tarantula hawk wasp, leading to results so astonishing that several reviewers asked him to double-check his data. The findings held up. In his conclusion, Evans wrote that if such behavior were displayed by a creature with a backbone and a developed nervous system, we would label it as cruel. But the wasp doesn't know that word. It simply tackles the task in the most efficient way. Pepsis grossa, the tarantula hawk wasp as it's known in English literature, is an impressive insect in its own right, independent of what it does. Its body can be up to 6 centimeters long, making it one of the largest wasp species on the planet. Its body is a deep black with a metallic sheen, resembling a raven's wing on a sunny day. The wings are bright orange or rust red, depending on the subspecies, creating a striking contrast. It doesn't hide. It flies openly, confidently, displaying its color to the world, conveying a clear message. I know what I'm doing, and I have no need to conceal myself. The sting of the female tarantula hawk wasp can reach 7 millimeters in length. Remember the Schmidt pain scale we discussed when talking about the bullet ant? The bullet ant ranks at level 4, the highest, and is known for having the most painful insect sting that humans regularly encounter. The tarantula hawk wasp also sits at level 4. Schmidt described its sting as an immediate, blinding, electric pain. It's so intense that the only reasonable reaction is to lie on the ground and scream. After 3 minutes, the pain begins to fade, and by 10 minutes in, it's almost gone. There are no lasting effects or serious harm to a healthy adult. However, Schmidt noted these 3 minutes as one of the most intense pain experiences in his career, which included over 60 insect stings. Interestingly, Schmidt subjected himself to the tarantula hawk's sting twice for verification purposes. After the second sting, he noted just one word in his field journal: enough. But pain from the sting is a side effect. The wasp's primary weapon is not meant for humans. It's intended for the Goliath, the tarantula we've been discussing. This is where the story, which Evans called the pinnacle of evolutionary sophistication in the world of invertebrates, begins. The female tarantula hawk does not kill the spider, which is crucial. Instead, she paralyzes it, while it's still alive. The venom in her sting contains a neurotoxin that irreversibly blocks the spider's motor nerves while leaving its internal organs, heart, digestive system, respiratory system, functioning. The spider doesn't die, it simply stops moving. Forever. Its brain continues to register what's happening as suggested by electrophysiological studies. It just cannot move, make a sound, or do anything else. The reason for this will become clear in a moment. The wasp finds the spider in several ways. She might accidentally come across it while patrolling her territory, or detect the pheromones the spider emits. The most intriguing method, however, is provocation. The wasp deliberately approaches the tarantula's burrow and begins to drum on the web at the entrance, mimicking the vibrations of prey. The spider emerges and encounters the wasp. Theoretically, the spider should win this battle. It is many times heavier and has fangs that can pierce the wasp's exoskeleton. Its venom is potent enough to paralyze a mouse. But the wasp moves differently. She does not attack head-on. Instead, she dodges, circles, provokes the spider to move, and uses its own attacks against it, eventually getting beneath the spider's abdomen. It's here, where the fangs can't reach, that her stinger does. One precise jab into the nerve center controlling the spider's limbs, and the spider falls. Not dead, just down, remaining still. That's it. The fight is over, and the wasp emerges unscathed. What happens next is the part that prompted reviewers to ask Evans to double-check his data. The wasp drags the paralyzed spider to a previously dug burrow, sometimes over distances of several dozen meters. The spider weighs 20 times more than the wasp. She drags it, occasionally taking flight briefly to carry it short distances in the air, and at times, hauling it along the ground. It takes time and immense effort. But the wasp doesn't stop or lose its way. It knows exactly where the burrow is, even if it drags the spider on a winding path. The spatial memory of this insect is documented and studied. It's impeccable. A spider is placed in the burrow, alive, paralyzed, warm, with a beating heart. The wasp lays a single egg on its abdomen, just one. Then it covers the entrance to the burrow with soil and flies away, forever. It will never return to this burrow. The egg hatches after a few days. The wasp larva begins to feed. Not randomly, not chaotically. It instinctively knows the order, starting with fat reserves and non-vital tissues, leaving the essential organs untouched for as long as possible. The spider remains alive and thus fresh for weeks while the larva grows. Only at the very end, when the larva needs that final protein source for pupation, does it reach the heart and the nerve centers. The spider dies last of all that remains. The larva pupates. After a few weeks, an adult wasp emerges from the cocoon. It chews through the earth that sealed the burrow and makes its way outside, into a world it has never seen, without a mother, without training, already knowing everything it needs to know. Adult wasps feed exclusively on nectar and the juice of overripe fruits. Males do not sting at all. Only females have stingers, which are used strictly for hunting and protection, but not for feeding. Throughout its life, an adult wasp does not eat a single spider. Spiders are needed only for reproduction. Everything it does with the Goliath is done for the single larva it will never see. In New Mexico, the tarantula hawk wasp is the official state symbol. The entomologist who proposed this justified the choice simply. This creature is fearless, efficient, and lives by its own rules. The legislature voted unanimously in favor. Ecologically, the tarantula hawk plays the role of a regulator for large spider populations. Without it, the number of tarantulas in certain habitats would grow uncontrollably, putting pressure on insect and small vertebrate populations, their primary food source. Just one small link, one species, and the entire chain remains in balance. Remove it, and the chain begins to sag in unexpected places. Now it flies over the treetops, orange wings on a black body, visible from afar. It's in no rush, patrolling its territory. Down below, in the burrows and under the roots, the Goliaths feel the vibration of its flight with their fine hairs, and they stay inside. The largest spider on the planet prefers to wait it out. This is not cowardice, it's experience, written in instinct over millions of years. We've encountered masters of water and land, creatures that shock and poison, hunters the size of a coin and those the size of a plate. We've seen strength, speed, patience, chemistry, and sophistication. But the final predator on this list is not the biggest, not the most venomous, not the fastest. It's smaller than any of those we've talked about, but what it does for the jungles, something essential for their very existence, makes it the most crucial creature on this list. Once you learn why, you'll never look at an ant mound by the trail the same way again. Predator 11. The Giant River Otter. In 1971, the Brazilian government listed the giant river otter as a protected species. By then, it was nearly extinct. Decades of hunting for its dense, velvety fur, highly valued in the fur markets of Europe and North America, had reduced the population to just a few hundred across the Amazon. An animal that once thrived in family groups along rivers from Venezuela to Argentina became so rare that most locals had never seen one alive. Conservation efforts came just in time, literally. Now the population is slowly and unevenly recovering, facing ongoing pressure from poaching and habitat destruction. But it is recovering. This is one of the few stories about human interaction with the Amazon's wildlife where the ending isn't written in stone yet. Pteronura brasiliensis, known as the giant river otter, is the largest member of the weasel family on the planet. Its body, including the tail, can reach nearly 2 meters in length and weigh up to 32 kilograms. For comparison, the common European river otter weighs a maximum of about 10 kilograms. The giant river otter is a different creature on a different scale. Locals in the Amazon basin refer to it as lobo de rios, or river wolf, and this name is more accurate than it seems. Visually, it appears designed specifically for water. Its body is elongated and streamlined, with a broad, flattened tail that functions as both a rudder and a propeller. Its paws are webbed. The fur is short and dense, dark brown, almost chocolate, with distinctive cream-colored patches on its throat and chest. These patches are unique to each individual, like fingerprints in humans. Researchers identify each animal by photographing these throat markings during encounters. Underwater, it transforms into something completely different. The speed at which the giant river otter moves in water is disproportionate to its awkward appearance on land. On shore, it is clumsy, waddling and laboring to move. But in the water, it glides, turns, and changes direction with an agility that makes one think of dolphins rather than weasels. It can chase fish in the murky waters of the Amazon, where visibility is near zero, relying on vibrations created by the fish's movements. Its sensitive whiskers pick up these signals with high precision. In the water, fish believe that darkness protects them. This is a misconception. The giant river otter primarily feeds on fish. Around 90% of its diet consists of it, but not just any fish. It specializes in larger species, like the arapaima, one of the largest freshwater fish in the world, which can grow up to 2 meters long and weigh up to 100 kilograms. Young giant river otters sometimes hunt caimans, as well as smaller anacondas and, of course, piranhas, the very piranhas that most people fear. A giant otter can tackle piranhas with ease, taking them by the head and gnawing from the tail until the fish's sharp teeth can't do any more harm. They hunt in family groups. And this is where the giant otter stands out from all the other predators on our list. It's the only one that hunts cooperatively, with organization, strategies, and defined roles. A family unit typically consists of 3 to 8 members, an adult pair, and several generations of offspring. When hunting, they function as a single entity. Some members drive the fish into shallow waters or close to the shore, while others block escape routes, leaving the prey with nowhere to go. But what's even more remarkable is that giant otters communicate actively, constantly, and with clear purpose. Their vocal repertoire includes over 20 documented sounds, from sharp warning barks to soft rumbling noises that adults use to calm their young. Different sounds indicate different situations: approaching danger, sighting fish, calling the group, warning intruders, or expressing discontent. Researchers who have worked with specific family groups over several seasons claim they can distinguish between families by their vocalizations. Each group has distinctive variations, much like a dialect. On their territory, a specific stretch of river several kilometers long that they occupy and defend, they leave markers. Special areas by the shore, cleared of vegetation, where otters roll around and leave scent marks from their glands and droppings. These spots are called campas, or camps. An outsider entering this territory gets a clear message: someone already claims this space. If the warning is ignored, the family responds collectively and loudly, lining up by the shore, diving and surfacing in unison while making loud warning calls. This is not an attack, it's a demonstration, usually enough to deter intruders. The relationship between giant otters and caimans can be described as one of mutual respect with an element of tension. An adult black caiman is not prey for an otter. It's a predator that the otter will avoid. However, a young caiman, small and drifting close to a hunting group, is at risk. Otters are quick and coordinated, and a young caiman doesn't stand a chance against a group of 6 adults attacking simultaneously from different directions. One documented incident in Manu National Park in Peru showed a group of 5 otters cornering a roughly 1-meter caiman in shallow water, taking turns attacking until they finished their hunt. The entire episode lasted about 20 minutes. In these families, all members take part in raising the young. This isn't just a metaphor. Older siblings from previous litters help protect the little ones, teach them how to swim and hunt, and defend them from threats. A mother is never alone with her newborns. She has helpers. The pups are born blind and helpless, opening their eyes after about a month. They begin to enter the water under the watchful eye of adults when they're around 3 months old. Their first attempts at swimming are both adorable and clumsy, floundering and sinking. They're scooped up by adults who push them back to the surface, and they try again. The family is patient and never rushes or abandons them. Within a few weeks, they swim as confidently as the others. Researchers who have spent years observing specific families of giant otters have noted something that's hard to describe with strict scientific language: individuality. Each otter has a distinct character that is stable and recognizable. One is always the first to respond to danger, while another is the cautious one, entering unfamiliar waters last. A third is the instigator of play, coaxing others into roughhousing, even at inconvenient times. This isn't anthropomorphism, it's documented behavior that is consistently and predictably reproduced. The ecological role of the giant otter in the Amazon's river systems is immense. By regulating the population of large fish, they prevent any single species from dominating the river's food resources. Their role in controlling predatory fish, which in turn prey on smaller fish and invertebrates, is particularly important. Remove the otter, and the balance shifts unpredictably. Rivers where otters disappeared in the 20th century showed changes in fish populations that local fishermen recognized and described long before scientists began to measure them. The river wolf surfaces with a fish in its jaws, sits on a log by the riverbank, and holds its catch in its front paws, almost like hands as it eats, looking at you with no fear or aggression. It simply watches, assesses, and decides you're not of interest, then returns to its meal. Behind it lies the river. Beyond the river is the jungle. And within that jungle, high above us, in the darkest and quietest part of the forest, waits the last predator on our list. The one you weren't expecting. The one whose name you've heard 1,000 times and never thought to associate with the word predator. Yet, it is this creature that drives the entire ecosystem. This is the reason jungles exist as we know them. And when you realize this, everything we've discussed over the past hour will fall into place. The 12th predator, the leafcutter ant. Wait, before you say it's not a predator, it's just an ant hauling leaves, read until the end, because by the culmination of this story, your understanding of what constitutes a predator, what it means to have power over an ecosystem, and what intelligence without a brain looks like will be irrevocably transformed. I promise. In Samdicid biologist Edward O. Wilson from Harvard University, known as the father of sociobiology and who has dedicated over 50 years to studying ants, wrote a sentence that has been quoted countless times since. He said that if aliens landed on Earth and wanted to understand which species truly controls the tropical forests, they wouldn't choose the jaguar or the eagle. They would choose leaf-cutting ants. Wilson knew what he was talking about. By that point, he had spent more time around them than most people spend with their own children. Atta and Acromyrmex are 2 genera of leaf-cutting ants, comprising several dozen species. They are found throughout tropical and subtropical America, from the southern United States to northern Argentina. A large colony of Atta can consist of anywhere from 5 to 8 million individuals. That's 8 million creatures living in one underground city, all working according to a single plan, without a central command or a leader issuing orders. Only chemistry, only pheromones, only algorithms encoded in instincts over 50 million years of evolution. The underground nest of a large colony is a structure that is hard to conceive until you see it excavated. Brazilian scientists once encased an active leafcutter nest in concrete after its natural death, waited for the mixture to set, and then dug it up. What they uncovered made it to the cover of several scientific journals, an underground city spanning about 50 square meters and reaching depths of up to 8 meters. Thousands of chambers interconnected by a network of tunnels totaling hundreds of meters. Specialized chambers for growing fungus, compartments for storing fresh leaves, waste disposal chambers. Yes, they have garbage sections organized with precision that would impress any municipal sanitation engineer. Chambers for the queen, chambers for larvae, ventilation shafts that regulate temperature and humidity within 1 degree. All of this is constructed by beings whose brains are smaller than a pinhead. Now, let's discuss why leafcutters are considered predators. Not in the traditional sense. They don't attack animals. But what they do can be seen as predatory in an ecological sense, an aggressive, large-scale extraction of resources from their environment. Leafcutters cut leaves. That much everyone knows. But they don't eat the leaves. This is a crucial detail that most people don't realize. Leaves are building material, raw material, substrate. The ants carry the leaves back to the nest, where a specialized caste of workers crushes them into a pulp, processes them with saliva containing antibacterial enzymes, and places them into designated chambers. It is on this pulp that a fungus, Leucoagaricus gongolophorus, grows, a species that exists nowhere in nature in the wild. It only exists in symbiosis with leafcutters, only in their nests. This fungus is the real food. The ants don't eat the leaves. They eat the fungus that they cultivate from the leaves. They are farmers, practicing agriculture 50 million years before humans thought of it. The scale of leaf mass extraction from the forest by a colony of leafcutters is one of the major ecological factors in tropical ecosystems. A single large colony can strip leaves from an area comparable to a football field within a year. Studies in Panama have shown that in certain parts of the forest, leafcutters can remove up to 17% of the total leaf mass produced by plants. 17% isn't a loss. It's regulation, a boost for growth. Plants that undergo moderate pruning develop new leaves more quickly. Leafcutter ants don't destroy the forest, they trim it, keeping it in a state of constant active growth. The logistics of delivering leaves to a nest is an intricate story, studied with precision comparable to that of urban transport systems. Columns of leafcutter ants move along well-trodden paths at speeds and volumes equivalent to a crowd of people running at 70 kilometers per hour, each carrying loads 3 times their own body weight. Leafcutter trails, cleared and maintained by a special caste of workers, can stretch up to 200 meters from the nest. Crossing such a trail without noticing it is impossible. It's a highway, alive, continuous, operating 24 hours a day. The castes within the colony have sparked debates among scientists about the nature of intelligence for decades. There are several, each morphologically distinct, literally different shapes and sizes for specific functions. The tiny minim workers tend to the fungus and larvae, never leaving the nest. Media ants are the primary foragers, the ones you see on the paths with pieces of leaves overhead. The large soldiers, with massive heads and jaws capable of snapping a thin rope, serve as guards. Then there's the queen, an entirely different scale of being, measuring up to 5 centimeters long and laying up to 3,000 eggs a day for 15 to 20 years. The queen is a living reproductive module. She never leaves the nest after founding the colony. She doesn't manage, she reproduces. There's no management at all. That's the most astonishing part. No one gives orders, no one makes plans. Each ant responds solely to local signals, pheromones from neighboring ants, chemical composition of the substrate underfoot, vibrations from other workers. From millions of these local reactions, a global behavior emerges within the colony, complex, adaptive, responding to environmental changes faster and more efficiently than most centralized systems. When a particular plant becomes toxic or depleted, the colony switches to another within hours. If a path is damaged, workers immediately find a detour, optimizing its route length with accuracy that mathematicians consider close to the theoretical optimum. All of this happens without a brain, without a plan, just an algorithm running on 8 million parallel processors. Programmers and engineers are aware of this. Algorithms inspired by the behavior of leafcutter ants are used in optimizing logistics networks, designing telecommunication systems, and managing data flows. When FedEx or Amazon optimizes delivery routes, the underlying algorithm is based on principles discovered by observing leafcutter trails in the jungles of Costa Rica. So, when an ant cuts a leaf in the rainforest, it indirectly influences how quickly your package will arrive at your door. The mushroom farm inside the nest is so meticulously protected that modern biotechnologists study it as a model for production in sterile conditions. Ants manually eliminate competitive fungi, carefully sifting through the substrate to remove foreign spores. A special bacterium living on the bodies of the ants produces a natural antibiotic that suppresses the growth of pathogens in the fungal chamber. This bacterium, called Pseudonocardia, is a source of antibiotic compounds being researched by pharmaceutical companies as potential treatments for resistant infections. Once again, a solution to a problem that modern medicine struggles with has existed in the jungle for 50 million years. Leafcutter ants have their enemies. Their main foe is the parasitic fly, which lays eggs in the head of foraging ants. The larva consumes the host's brain from the inside. To counter this threat, leafcutters have developed an unexpected defense. Tiny helper ants, too small to carry leaves, travel on pieces of foliage on top of the foragers, like riders. Their job is to chase away the flies that attack the host's head. A guardian on top of a guardian. A living defense system, created without any thought, only through the pressure of evolution. When a leafcutter colony dies, these colonies can live for decades, sometimes 20 years or more. They leave behind altered soil, enriched, mixed, and saturated with organic matter from years of work in the fungal chambers. Plants grow back at the old nest site faster and denser than in the surrounding forest. The leafcutter dies and nourishes what it once fed on. The cycle completes. Here it is, the final predator. Less than an inch long. No venom, no claws, no electricity, no speed. Just mandibles, just pheromones, just 8 million instances of one algorithm simultaneously running underground in the middle of the jungle. It doesn't kill, it cultivates. It doesn't hunt, it builds. But without it, without its fungal farms, its trails, its constant pressure on the foliage, without its enriched soil, this forest would be different, less dense, less diverse, less alive. We've traveled the journey from a black caiman in dark waters to an ant on the trail a meter from your foot, from a creature weighing a quarter ton to a creature weighing a milligram. And here's what turned out to be true. The jungle is not a place where the strongest survive. It's a place where everyone needs each other, where the caiman needs the river, where the otter needs the fish, where the leafcutter needs the soil, and the soil needs the tree on which the harpy eagle sits, watching for a monkey that someday will be eaten by the jaguar, whose remains will be dismantled by ants, whose farms will give life to a new tree. This is the jungle, not a backdrop, not a setting. A living machine, operating without breaks, without glitches, without our involvement, and without our permission. If this video has changed your perspective on even one creature from this list, please let us know in the comments. Which of the 13 predators surprised you the most? This matters, not just for the algorithm, though it does for that too, but because conversations like this are the reason we continue to create. Predator 13, the jaguarundi. There's a creature in the jungles that has been spotted by thousands, yet almost no one truly understands what they've seen. It's been mistaken for a cat, an otter, a large weasel, a cougar cub, or a peculiar dog. One Brazilian farmer, who encountered it on a trail in Mato Grosso, described it to a local veterinarian as something between a snake and a cat, but with legs. The vet laughed at first, then realized the farmer had likely encountered the very creature he was describing, the jaguarundi. This animal, scientifically known as Herpylurus jaguarundi, is unlike any other cat. Its body is long, sleek, and low, almost like a ferret or marten. The legs are short compared to the body, and the long tail is thick at the base and tapering toward the end. It has a small, flattened head with a short muzzle and tiny rounded ears pressed against its skull. There are no spots or stripes. It has a uniform coat, either dark gray, nearly black, or a reddish-brown reminiscent of decaying leaves. Interestingly, both color variations can appear in the same litter from one mother. They're not different subspecies, just different individuals of the same species, much like how a family can have both redheads and brunettes. The size of the jaguarundi is modest, ranging from 3 to 9 kilograms, with a body length of about 70 centimeters plus an additional 45 centimeters for the tail. This makes it smaller than a large domestic cat, significantly smaller than a jaguar, and incomparably smaller than a cougar. At first glance, there's nothing particularly striking about it. It's a creature that can easily be overlooked, easily mistaken for another animal. This is precisely what makes it such an effective predator. The jaguarundi has a wider range than any other wildcat in the New World. It stretches from southern Texas and Mexico through Central America, the Amazon, the Andes, all the way to northern Argentina. It thrives in tropical forests, dry scrublands, coastal thickets, swamp edges, and at forest margins, practically anywhere with sufficient cover and a good supply of small prey. It adapts to altered landscapes better than most felines. In areas where jaguars have long been driven away due to deforestation, the jaguarundi remains, quietly, unnoticed, continuing its hunt. Its hunting methods differ from those of most cats. The typical feline strategy involves a patient ambush, a long wait, followed by a single, precise leap. The jaguarundi, however, is an active pursuer. It is constantly on the move, exploring its territory for prey, combing through underbrush, peering under roots, plunging into water for fish, or leaping to lower tree branches for birds. Its long, flexible body allows it to squeeze into crevices and burrows where other cats simply cannot fit. Unusually for cats, it hunts during the day, as most are crepuscular or nocturnal hunters. Its diet is so varied that researchers classify it as an opportunistic predator, a scientific term meaning it eats whatever it can catch and is skilled at catching a wide range of prey. Birds make up a significant part of the jaguarundi's diet. They catch them both on the ground and in the air, executing impressive leaps. They also hunt rodents, lizards, frogs, fish, large insects, and occasionally small snakes. There have even been documented cases of them hunting domestic chickens, leading to conflicts with farmers and an undeserved reputation as pests. What's particularly interesting is the jaguarundi's method of hunting birds. While most predators either attack from the air like a harpy or sneak up on their prey from the ground, the jaguarundi does both, switching strategies based on the situation during the hunt. Researchers in Costa Rica captured on camera a scene where a jaguarundi was chasing a bird on the ground, lost sight of it, quickly changed tactics, climbed into a bush, and leapt down to catch a bird sitting on a branch just 2 meters away. This all took about 7 seconds, demonstrating remarkable flexibility and thinking, quite literally. The jaguarundi's vocalizations are anything but typical for a cat. In fact, they comprise a variety of more than 13 documented sounds, including chirps and whistles that are indistinguishable from those of birds. Ornithologists in the field have repeatedly responded to these sounds, thinking they were birds, only to discover a cat instead. The reason why a cat would make bird-like sounds remains unanswered. One hypothesis suggests that they use these sounds to lure birds. When a bird hears a familiar chirp, it responds and ends up too close for comfort. If this is true, the jaguarundi is the only cat in the world known to employ auditory lures while hunting. The social life of the jaguarundi is not well understood, primarily because they are so adept at hiding. However, findings from camera traps and radio collars show that jaguarundis are not strictly solitary. Pairs sometimes hunt together, and adult individuals tolerate nearby relatives within overlapping territories, behavior that a jaguar would never allow. This adaptability allows jaguarundis to thrive in fragmented landscapes where territories have shrunk, forcing predators to coexist more closely than before. They breed year-round, distinguishing them from most big cats that have distinct mating seasons. A litter typically consists of 1 to 4 cubs. The mother raises them alone, without the male's involvement. The cubs are born with vague spots that fade within a few months, a remnant of their evolutionary past, when the ancestors of jaguarundis were spotted. Genetically, the jaguarundi is most closely related to the cougar and the cheetah, even to the cheetah, despite living in jungles and looking nothing like it. Evolution can be surprising. Until recently, jaguarundis have been poorly studied simply because they hide so well and are small enough to escape the attention of researchers focused on larger predators. While scientists were fitting collars on jaguars and cougars, jaguarundis roam nearby, unnoticed and unrecorded. Serious field studies using camera traps only began in the 1990s. Prior to that, they were mostly known through the skins of hunters and stories from locals. The indigenous peoples of the Amazon have known it for a long time. The Tupi tribes referred to it as mouse cat, reflecting its size and movement style. In some communities, they kept it semi-domesticated as a hunter of rodents, living harmoniously alongside humans as long as it was treated with respect and not as a pet. Several European naturalists from the 18th and 19th centuries noted that in Indian villages, jaguarundis roamed freely around the homes, hunting rats and mice without displaying fear or aggression towards people. They simply existed as equals, on their own terms. Its ecological role in the jungle is specific and crucial. It helps control the populations of small rodents and medium-sized birds, an essential part of the food chain that bridges leafcutters and larger predators like the jaguar. Without it, this link falters. Rodent populations could explode unchecked, impacting the forest seed bank and destroying the seeds meant to grow into new trees. Medium-sized birds, in turn, regulate insects. Remove the jaguarundi and the chain reacts simultaneously in multiple places. Today, the jaguarundi is under pressure. It's not critical. Its status on the IUCN Red List is classified as least concern, which, in scientific terms, means it's hanging on. But that hanging on is becoming increasingly tenuous as forests fragment, farmlands expand, and conflicts with people over poultry lead to hunting. A creature that has thrived alongside humans in Amazonian villages for thousands of years now faces pressures of a different magnitude. It's out there, just a meter from the path, or 2, or 5. Dark gray or reddish. Either way, in the jungle's dim light, both colors are equally invisible. It rests on a low branch or moves silently through the underbrush, exhibiting that characteristic fluid grace of all felines, but in its case, it seems especially surreal due to the mismatch between its body shape and smooth movements. It watches you. You don't see it. And now, after tracing this journey from the caiman to the leafcutter, from the harpy to the jaguarundi, we can state the main point. The jungle does not distinguish between dangerous and safe inhabitants, predators and prey, significant and insignificant. Each creature on this list, from 8-meter caimans to milligram ants, carries a part of this intricate structure,